This video is a supplement to a class that I did yesterday online. That was for patterning for a 14th century kirtle or a Gothic fitted dress. Unfortunately, we ran out of time at the end of class to complete the patterning for this sleeve. So I'm going to go over what's left on that today. It should be a pretty quick video, but just want to kind of cover what we weren't able to finish up yesterday. What we have here is the basic sleeve head pattern for the sleeve. I had in the class, I had shown how I come up with the math for creating this S curve, which is going to give us the this is going to be the underarm portion of the sleeve head. And this is going to be the upper part of the sleeve head going up over the shoulder point. And at this point I have pretty much just straight lines drawn from the corners of the edges down to the wrist measurement. This is the wrist. That's pretty much right at the center point. This also has seam allowance at the bottom. When I did the sleeve head, that is based on the total arm side length, which already includes seam allowance. So I didn't need to make seam allowance in the sleeve head. So this measurement in this S curve is exactly what comes off of the arm size, so I don't need to add seam allowance there. So I basically got the basic pattern on this, and now what I need to do is I need to cut this out, sew up the sides using about a 1/2 inch seam allowance on that, and then I'm going to put it on my wife and finish the fitting on that to pin it up, and then I'll show you how I create the pattern after that. So we have the sleeve pinned on, the basic sleeve block that we have here. This one just a little bit. And so what we need to do is we need to gather up. You can see that there's extra fabric here on the lines there. So we need to, we're going to pin it on the back side. As you can see, the way that this sleeve pattern goes, the seam comes down the back side of the arm rather than coming down under the armpit, down into here. So we're going to make sure that we have just a slight bend in the elbow. And we are going to, just a little bit. And we're just going to start pinning to fit. And we're going to want it to be close but not snug. You need to make sure that there's room for her to comfortably move her arm. And especially fitting the forearm and the elbow. You need to put your arm down. And holding your arm up like that hurts. So pinning it here at the elbow is kind of one of the tricky ones because we want to make sure to have enough room. Can you bend your elbow there? Mm-hmm. Is that too tight? Mm-mm. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And once we get up into the back of the arm here, all the room in the bicep and the tricep, we're going to need to make sure we have plenty of room for that to move, and we need to start kind of fading out into here so that we have enough room in the sleeve head. So right about where the bicep starts is where I'm going to kind of just start tapering out here where the initial seam is, and I'm probably just going to use from about here, about a third of the way up. I'm going to use essentially what is already there. We just wanted to make sure to fit the arm, and you can kind of see where the pins are here, how much we take out there in that pattern. So now I'm going to take chalk pencil and draw on both sides of the pin lines as we did with the sleeve pattern, or with the body pattern, body block. I'm just going to go ahead and make the curve there. So I got the check marks there where the pins are, and on this side as well. And you can see that on this side here, I kind of had to start filling this out from about a couple inches above the wrist, back down to the wrist line, the opening of the sleeve. So it is going to kind of curve out there, just as we did up at the top there as well. And now I will let my wife go, and I'll finish up that pattern. I'm not adding seam allowance to the bottom here because we've got enough there that we can roll that hem if necessary. So I'm not adding more down here. So with this one here, I'm going to kind of start in the middle, and again, I'm just doing a 1/2 inch seam allowance on these. And this is where at the top here, where I've got, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got this line starting to develop here for seam allowance, and I need to kind of phase that into that line right there. And then that line just follows up the rest of the sleeve. And likewise down here. So I'll get too far up. So likewise down here on this end of the sleeve, as it kind of comes down around here, I'm just going to kind of, again, just kind of let that fade in. So I can start, come in just a little bit more. Looks like I need to start that a little bit sooner. So it gives me the seam allowance that I need there. And then it just fades into the wrist measurement there, and then it fades into the upper measurement on there. So I'll go ahead and finish up this side over here. And after having completed all the lines and adding the seam allowance there, take that body block off there, and that is going to be your sleeve pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. If I can do that. And there we have sleeve pattern. We have the body front pattern. We have the body back pattern. And that is the entire pattern for 14th century Gothic fitted dress, self-supporting kirtle. Later I'll be doing another video on how I lay out the dress, so you can see how that's cut out and what we had for that. So there you go.